What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. We're going to be talking about Echo. Now, this is a show that I have been somewhat looking forward to. It's definitely one that I was intrigued by, but at the same time, I was not really all that hyped, mostly because I thought the Maya Lopez character really didn't do much for me in the Hawkeye series. So, seeing how this show was going to be revolving around her, I was not remotely interested in it. So going into the show, I was really curious, but at the same time, I really wanted to see what they were going to do, especially since this is the first TVMA show that Marvel drops, and they also dropped it under their new banner, the Marvel Spotlight. So all that in there still had me really intrigued. And then you also add in the fact that you have Daredevil coming in and Vincent D'Onofrio coming back as Kingpin. Immediately, I was going to be somewhat curious. So this show kind of picks up right where we last left off Maya Lopez in Hawkeye, and we go into her trying to reconnect with her past, with her native roots, and with her family and community in hopes that she's able to move forward in a very positive light. And I'll start off with the positives with this because there are things that I really enjoyed and there are things that didn't really work for me. So starting off with the positives that really stuck out to me, Alakwa Cox, I do apologize if I butchered the name, I probably did. I thought she did great as Maya Lopez. I thought she really handled her own, and when it came down to her handling this show, since this was going to be her leading the show, I thought she pulled it off very well. I thought she was really the highlight of the show because there is a lot of emotion when it comes to her character and what she is dealing now that we are moving this character forward into her new life and really diving back into her family roots. That's something that I really appreciated about her performance. I thought she handled the fight sequences great, even when it comes down to the relationship that she has not only with her cousin Biscuit but also her cousin Bonnie that she kind of left when she was young in order for her to move to New York. So I like that we were able to explore different layers about this character and seeing where she comes from, seeing where she is trying to be, because she has a new mindset. She was trained under Wilson Fisk, and now she is this badass that tries to do the very best that she possibly can, but also has a kind of she kind of has a chip on her shoulder when it comes down to her grandmother, and seeing all that come down was great. Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk is really an understatement when I say that he's absolutely great because he is. He is the best part about the Daredevil show, and he is definitely the best part about this show whenever he pops up. He doesn't have a lot of screen time in the show, which was somewhat disappointing, but whenever he does pop up, I thought they handled him very well, and he's still that vicious man that we met in Daredevil. So keeping those roots there, I thought worked. And so seeing the relationship between Maya and Fisk, I thought worked for me. And what I really liked about the relationship between Maya and Wilson is the fact that they gave him a device in order for him to be able to communicate with Maya, because he doesn't know sign language. He has an interpreter whenever she's around. And so they built a device in which he's able to hologram some sign language, and so in order for him to communicate, and with it, and then whenever she signs to him, he's able to have it translated to him in his ear. So that I really liked. I thought that was creative. I thought that was inventive, and I really enjoyed that. Also, when it came down to Maya's roots, I really liked that we dug into her past to see where she comes from and what her relationship was before she left to New York. I thought that was well handled, and I thought it was done in a very classy manner. However, with this show being 5 episodes long, that is where I'm going to be getting into my negatives when it comes to this show. Because even though for a majority of the show I was vibing with it, this show needed to be longer. And I think I've already reached my peak when it comes down to the MCU shows. Even though I enjoy half of the MCU shows, I think they're fun in a creative way. But this 6 episode bullshit has got to stop, because especially when it comes down to Echo, even though the performances are great, there are story devices in here that I really liked and I appreciated. There was really nothing in here that captured my attention from beginning to end. When it came down to the first episode, a majority of the first episode was just a flashback to what we had already seen in Hawkeye. And you could have just taken that out or shrunken it down to about 5 minutes, because what they're trying to do with what they're trying to do with the Marvel Spotlight banner is you don't have to watch all the other MCU shows in order to watch the shows that are under this banner. But that took up a majority of the first episode, where I just wanted to see where the hell we were going with this character. That's one of the negatives that I have with this show. This show is incredibly slow, that you kind of get some momentum here and there, and you kind of see where the show is headed. But it all feels just like all the other MCU shows. They all feel rushed. By the time that we get to the last episode, it ends in a very non climatic way because it's 30 minutes long, and so there's not a lot of room for this character to breathe. There's not a lot of things that they're able to do with this character because they are so confined to those 5 fucking episodes that you needed more in order for you to explore this character. And if you wanted to make this show 5 episodes, why not just turn it into a fucking movie? Because it could have easily been a fun 2 hour movie. You could have gotten the gist of everything that was going on, and you didn't need to have these 5 episodes. While I enjoyed the action sequences here and there, and I really did enjoy Alakwa Cox. I do apologize if I butchered the name again, but even though I really enjoyed her in this show, they really don't do much for her in order for them to justify this show, because they don't give her enough material to work with, and the material that she's given, she does make it work for what she is given, but she needed a little bit more. She needed a little bit more because I was not able to get emotionally hooked with her family and seeing all of that dynamics. You kind of get a little bit in the beginning of the show, but outside of that, there is really nothing in here that really captured my attention. This might be a bummer for some people, but if you're hoping that you're going to be seeing Daredevil for a majority of the show, you're sadly going to be disappointed because he only shows up for a little bit in the first episode. And the fight that Maya Lopez has with Daredevil was great. I thought it was well choreographed. And if you're looking for a lot of Daredevil, if you're going into the show expecting a lot of Daredevil and a lot of Wilson Fisk, you're going to be disappointed with the show. And you're probably going to check out. And when it came down to the tone of the show, there was just nothing in here that created a sense of threat. There was nothing in here that created that sense of levity. And that is where I was, and that is kind of where it really left me disappointed. I was not going into the show expecting a level of grittiness. I was not expecting the Daredevil grittiness that we had in the show. I was expecting them to have a little bit of that here and there, but it really just feels like a safe and tamed version of the Daredevil show. That's exactly what this show feels like, and there's really nothing in here that will capture my attention because there's they don't do anything. Everything feels rushed, everything feels incomplete, and it just ends in a very anticlimactic way that I needed a little bit more. That by the time the show ended, I'm like, I need a little bit more. I want more. And the fact that they dropped it all in one day really shows how much confidence they had in the show. It's not one that I came out hating. It's one that I thought was easy to get by. It's breezy. You can get through it in about 3.5 hours. But other than that, I can't say that I was disappointed because I really didn't have high hopes for this movie. It's a show that I won't revisit anytime soon, which is a bummer because the actress is fantastic. I think everybody plays a role, from Maya Lopez to the cousin Bonnie, Biscuit, Wilson, all those. Everybody in here plays their parts as well as they possibly can. They just didn't do much with this character, and it's one that they should have done a little bit more. But those are my thoughts on Echo. Have you guys checked it out? Did you enjoy it? Was this a disappointment for you? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments. Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.